6:21 a.m. Let me take this time to welcome you to Sunrise here on Tobago Updates Television. I am your host, Lavion Cupid, and as always, it is indeed a pleasure to be seated here before you. Today is Tuesday, the 20th of January, 2026. Indeed, this is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. If you are viewing us, you're OG, and you're viewing us via our social media handles, thank you so much for choosing us. Whether you're on AMPLIA, Flow, or Digital, thank you again for making us a number one. Thank you for waking up early to join us here on Sunrise, and even as we continue our programming throughout the morning. As always, we have a packed show for you, and we are hitting the hot topics within Trinidad and Tobago this morning. But as per usual, I start you off with the morning brief, where I keep you updated with all things current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago as a wider entity, regionally and internationally. So starting off strongly and on a much lighter note this morning, the island's youth bands took on the great stage at Queen's Park Savannah on Sunday, January 18th, as three of its youth steel bands proudly represented the island in the National Junior Panorama 21 and under category. Leading the celebration was Tobago's Uptown Fascinators Youth Steel Orchestra, RBC Redemption Song Setters Youth Academy, and Cats and Jammers Youth, all carrying Tobago's rhythm and spirit onto the Savannah stage. When the final results were announced, Shell Invaders Youth Steel Orchestra claimed the championship, while Tobago's bands placed 8th, 9th and 10th respectively, proving once again that the island's young panists continue to make their presence felt on the national stage. Some really good light news to start off the morning. Pan on the island is in good hands, and that's some good news for today. Moving on, a recent viral post circulating with rules surrounding girls' hairstyle at the Faizabad Secondary School has prompted a response from the Ministry of Education. In a media release yesterday, the ministry clarified that no student should be denied access to education based on their hairstyle. It explained that the National School Code of Conduct does not ban specific hairstyles, but offers the general principles requiring school grooming rules to be reasonable, fair, and non-discriminatory. While schools may set grooming guidelines to support order and discipline, these must respect students' dignity, cultural identity, and personal expression. Education Minister Dr. Michael Dowlett stressed that grooming policies should never exclude a child from learning, reaffirming that the best interest of the child remains the ministry's guiding principle. So we're glad to see some clarity brought to that matter. But of course, we are in agreement that braids way past your shoulder blade isn't necessarily appropriate for schools. But the way someone of African descent hair grows out of their head should never be one up for question, right? It's 2026. We should not have any discriminatory views toward Afro-looking hair. And moving on nationally, in Trinidad, 49-year-old Zai Lee, the owner of Ye Hao Chinese restaurant and bar, was found dead late Sunday night inside his restaurant at the M2 Ring Road. The discovery was made at around 11:55 p.m. when a customer went to the closed restaurant to make a purchase and noticed a large amount of blood through a small service opening in the front door, which Lily normally used for after-hour sales. The customer immediately contacted police. When officers arrived, they found the front door open and followed a trail of blood behind the counter where Lily was discovered. His hands and feet were bound with duct tape, and he had visible injuries to his head and face. Officers from the Homicide Bureau Region 3 St. Madeleine Police Station and the Southern Division responded and are continuing investigations into the killing. Some very unfortunate news there. Well, something else to get you a little bit more excited and take you out to that dumper. Trinidad and Tobago has etched its name into the history books after qualifying for the first time in both the 2-man and a 4-man bobsleigh events, signaling a new era for the country on the ice. The 5-member squad consisting of Axel Brown, Shaquille John, DeAndre John, Zavri Williams, and Micah Moore has secured this prestigious spot through immense dedication and performance under coach Lee Johnson. The team surged into the world's top 17 rankings ahead of the Milan Cortina games as they get ready to represent the red, white, and black on the global stage. Remember that movie, those Jamaican men, I think it was in the 80s, that took part in that bobsleigh event? Yeah, coming from the Caribbean, never seen snow and going and ace it all. So we wish our men all the best and we see what the outcome will be. Taking a look regionally, Guatemala. On January 18, 2026, coordinated prison uprisings broke out across Guatemala after authorities moved to strip privileges from high-risk inmates linked to the Barrio 18 gang. Prisoners took at least 46 guards and staff hostage, but security forces quickly retook control of major facilities, including one prison, and freed the captives. The violence spread beyond prison walls when gang-linked attackers carried out armed assaults on police, killing at least 7 officers and injuring others. In response, President Bernardo Arevalo declared a 30-day state of siege, expanding security powers and canceling schools and public events nationwide, highlighting Guatemala's ongoing struggle with gang violence and prison control. And then finally wrapping up internationally in China. Last Sunday, a sudden blast tore through a steel plant, shaking the ground and filling the sky with white smoke. A pressurized tank meant to hold steam had exploded, leaving 4 workers dead and dozens injured, while others were still reported missing. As rescue teams searched the ruins, police detained the officials responsible for the plant, and investigators moved in to find the cause of the explosion. Regional and international news always wakes you up to let you realize that the world on a whole is struggling with one thing or the other. It's never just us here in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, we will always keep paying attention, not only to geopolitical tensions, but whatever is happening globally, because we always remember that those things do trickle down and affect us. So that was your morning brief here on Sunrise, keeping you updated with all things current affairs in Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is a wider entity, regionally and internationally. This morning, we continue conversations on the topics that are at the front burner in Trinidad and Tobago. Crime, and the sitting United National Congress did their campaign promise of reducing crime. We saw their first strategy into office was to implement a state of emergency. Many are saying they condemned while under the People's National Movement administration. That state of emergency ends on the 31st of January, the 31st of this month. And now the government is proposing zones of special operations, which ideally is really a state of emergency into hotspot areas that the Prime Minister would be able to declare and designate zones of special operations. Those zones will now have curfews, officers and joint patrol with the military could now go into your home without a warrant. They could search you without a warrant, search your vehicle. Arrest also is without warrant. And so there will be detentions just like under a state of emergency. There will be curfews restricted in these areas. And so many are asking, what will this look like for civil society? What would this look like for the regular man? What would this look like for businesses within special communities? Would a customer want to go into that community to get something, knowing that if I go in there, more than likely I'm going to be searched. There is a possibility. I don't want to be inconvenienced. So how is this plan going to roll out, and what exactly are the objectives? So this morning we continue the conversation as we speak to David Abdullah, a trade unionist, a politician and economist. He's also the leader of the MSJ, as we continue conversations this morning surrounding that topic and how the fallouts of that may or may not affect a civil society. So we're going to take a quick break right now, and then we come right back with Mr. Abdullah and continue those conversations. In the meantime, I want you to do me a favor, share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be back.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest, we protect. Everyone benefits.
Tobago Updates Television. Thank you so much for staying with us as we continue conversations this morning surrounding the zones of special operations. That bill that was passed early Saturday morning, sometime after 3-something a.m. And we know that it is up next for senators to make their contribution and have their vote and have their say on the bill. This morning we speak to the leader of the MSJ Movement for Social Justice, Mr. David Abdullah, politician, economist, and trade unionist on the topic. Mr. Abdullah, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Of course, indeed, always a pleasure. So, sir, the conversation within Trinidad and Tobago for a very long time has been crime. And we know that the United National Congress campaigned on reducing crime. The state of emergency was implemented, that same state of emergency that was bashed under the former People's National Movement administration. Now it comes to an end at the end of January, and we see the zones of special operations, which is ideally a state of emergency within a centralized area. So now we're looking at what the objectives could be of this thing. We haven't gotten clear objectives more than crime reduction. But sir, my first question to you is, civil unrest or anything thereof, how do you see the society accepting such a bill being implemented?
Yes, well, thank you very much. And of course, the society, Trinidad and Tobago, we have our populations unfortunately divided by party, and in the case of Trinidad, by race and religion as well, and in the case of Trinidad and Tobago, by geography. And therefore, persons may be ordinary citizens and civil society organizations may be taking positions that are loyal or which they think are loyal to their party rather than to the wider interest of Trinidad and Tobago. And that's one of the unfortunate circumstances in which we find ourselves in. But let me make an initial point about governance. This is a very far-reaching piece of legislation, and in my view, ought not to have been rushed through Parliament. It was announced just last week, in the middle of last week, by the Attorney General that the government was bringing the legislation to Parliament. And it was passed in one sitting in the House of Representatives, and I expect the government will try to force it through the Senate to a vote in one sitting later today. Something like this ought to have been out for some kind of public comment, because this goes to the heart of the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. A state of emergency is explicitly provided for in the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. And what this is seeking, therefore, to do is to amend fundamentally the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, and therefore ought to have been available for public debate and consultation, and perhaps discussion in a joint select committee, not with an undue length of time for that joint select committee to consider it, but certainly for them to receive comments from important stakeholders and members of civil society. So that's the first point. Second thing I want to say is that very unfortunately yesterday, according to one television news report which I saw last night, the Prime Minister attacked the senators who are popularly known as independent senators, in the sense that they were neither appointed on the recommendation of the Prime Minister nor appointed on the recommendation of the Leader of the Opposition. So these were persons who were appointed by the President in her own judgment and determination. And the Prime Minister made an attack on all of them, saying that because the President, current President, was a former Minister of Government many years ago under the PNM and so on, and sat as the President of the Senate when the PNM was in office, that therefore all of her appointees are going to be PNM supporters and will therefore vote with the PNM, as the case may be. And then she went on to say that if citizens don't want the special zones of force, then they're free to fight up with the criminal element on their own. And I thought those statements were very unfortunate by the Prime Minister. And those statements do not lend to a culture of good governance or of leadership where the head of the government, trying to introduce this very far-reaching legislation, ought to have made statements trying to persuade persons, whether they be senators, to support the legislation or members of the public to support the legislation. So I thought I made that point. The second point I want to make is on accountability. And you were right, the PNM then government in December of 2024 implemented a state of emergency, and then it ended after 3 months and 2 weeks, and then there was a gap, and then when the UNC came in, shortly thereafter they introduced a state of emergency, and then extended it for a further 3 months. So essentially, in the last 13 months, we have had a state of emergency for 10 of the 13 months, or just over 10 of the 13 months. That's a very long time. And the police and various ministers responsible for national security, they made repeated statements that they were going to gather intelligence, they were going to squash the gangs, they were going to deal with the gangs, they were going to dismantle the gangs. I'm sure you remember that, whether they were operating within the prisons or outside the prisons. And then they detained many people. Well over 100 persons have been detained during the various states of emergency. And if you look at the detention orders issued by the Minister of Homeland Security, or before him, National Security, they indicated that these persons had access to large caches of high-powered weapons and ammunition, were involved in all kinds of criminal offenses. So one would have thought that after 10 months of states of emergency, the police and people in detention, the police would have had sufficient intelligence and evidence to charge a lot of the persons involved in the criminal activity, because there are not tens of thousands of persons involved in violent crime or in gangs. And one would have thought they would have had enough intelligence and evidence to charge them, bring them before the courts, charge them, and therefore to eliminate in significant ways the activities of the gangs. That has not happened, and we have not heard from the police or the civilian authorities over them, the various ministers, what is the record. We hear about how many guns have been seized and how many kilograms of drugs have been seized. All that is fine, but we need to know how many persons are going to be charged or have been charged with criminal offenses that therefore do not require a state of emergency to deal with the gang. So that's a issue of accountability, and we must insist that the reasons why the states of emergency were declared, that those reasons have now been justified by the ability of the police and security services and so on to get the evidence to deal with the matters that demanded a state of emergency. So those are two important things that we need to discuss, even before we get to the special zones of peace. Sorry, not peace, of operations.
Of operations.
Zones of peace is so much in my mind.
You touched on so much, because you touched on the consultations that we see other stakeholders are calling for that was not had. You also touched a bit on even Prime Minister Kamala Persad and her way of governance. You know, in recent times, we've seen quite a few persons comparing her governance style to that of Donald Trump, a replica such of or copycat thereof or such. But so much to touch on there. But what I want to ask you next is former Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith has said time and time again that a state of emergency is not a crime-fighting tool and should not be used as such. So after campaigning long and hard that you are going to reduce crime, implementing a state of emergency, running for 6 months, and then now doing many states of emergency, is it safe to say that the United National Congress administration doesn't know exactly what to do with crime? Or is it that they're still heading in the same failing direction where crime is concerned?
Yes, it would seem so, because, and I agree, I mean, I don't agree with Mr. Griffiths on many issues, but I do agree that a state of emergency is not a crime-solving problem. It is a suppression of crime, because persons can be held in detention without trial for the period of the emergency and so on. So it suppresses crime. And whenever, therefore, and, you know, if you look at what the bill that is before the Parliament says, and just looking at the bill very quickly, there's a very important where it talks about the objects, the explanatory note, and it says the bill seeks to curb the nation's crime through security force occupation of vulnerable communities. So it's very clear, to curb crime, not solve it, but to curb crime through security force operations, yes, of vulnerable communities. And then I heard the Attorney General say that this government is about reestablishing law and order. And I always remember the late George Weeks, President General of the Oilfields Workers Trade Union, when I was a young trade unionist. He wrote that when persons call for law and order and the people are crying out for justice, look behind them, that is those who call for law and order, and you would find the record of a common crook. That was George Weeks' quote. I'm not attributing that to any individual. I'm just saying what the quote was. In other words, he was saying that if there's a social crisis that then leads to people being involved in activity that is wrong, criminal activity and otherwise, then you have to resolve the social crisis. And suppressing crime does not solve the social crisis. And therefore, once the suppression mechanisms have been removed, the underlying cancer, if you wish, of the social crisis or crises emerge, and the manifestations of that will be in activities like crime and violence. There are other manifestations, including mental health problems and suicide and stuff like that, but one manifestation is in violent crime. So those are the things that we have to address. And you know, when we therefore look at what we would like to know, and the police have to give proper account. We don't just want to hear from the politicians or the police that, you know, we have made so many gun seizures and the murder rate is down. Yes, the number of murders has gone down and the number other violent crimes has gone down. But how much of that reduction can be attributed to policing methods, intelligence-led policing, as we hear from the senior police officers, and how much of it is attributable to the states of emergency, which suppressed crime and had certain key persons involved in crime perhaps being sequestered away in detention under the state of emergency. We don't know. The only way for us to know really is if persons are brought before the courts, charged and found guilty, and gangs are significantly broken up and dismantled. And we don't know that that has in fact happened. Okay. So I agree with Mr. Griffithson that a state of emergency is not a crime solution. Yeah. It is a crime suppression method. And, you know, if we come now to the actual bill itself, there's several disturbing aspects. One is that for a state of emergency under the Constitution, the president has to be advised by the Prime Minister or by the Cabinet, as the case may be, to declare a state of emergency. And the reasons have to be given by the government to the president. Now, the president can't really deny, but the president could inquire and be satisfied that the reasons are proper, cogent, and so on. And so that is the process. And the state of emergency is declared by the president for a period of only 14 days. Within those 14 days, the government must come to the parliament to justify that state of emergency and therefore ask the parliament by simple majority in the House of Representatives for an extension, which extension cannot go beyond 3 months. At the end of 3 months, they can come back to the House of Representatives and get another extension. So there are two extensions. There's the original declaration, which lasts for 14 days. First extension up to 3 months, second extension up to 3 months, which is what we are in now, the second extension up to 6 months. After the second extension, the government must then go both to the House of Representatives and to the Senate and get the approval of both by a special majority. So there are built-in constitutional requirements that make the government accountable in some ways to the parliament and through the parliament to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And there's a debate, and therefore the opposition, even though they'll lose the vote because a simple majority for the first two extensions, at least the opposition could raise issues if they have issues of concern. Right. The population could voice issues in the first 14 days, which become public knowledge through your media and so on. In this case, there is no such requirement. The Prime Minister does not go to the President. The Prime Minister simply declares a zone of special operation. And there's no parliamentary debate. They inform the Parliament, but there's no and it lasts for not for 3 months. It lasts for 6 months, 180. That's right. So there's no, and can be extended for a further 180 days. So it could be extended effectively for a year.
Mr. Abdullah, I want to ask you, I don't know if I can describe you as a democratic socialist. Can I?
You may, yes.
I may. Okay, good. Because where this question is leading. So, of course, with this bill, the topic of race is being brought up. We would have heard even Captain Gary Griffith said we may hear on the implementation of the bill once it is fully passed that the United National Congress administration is targeting PNM-based constituencies. And of course, now we're talking about race. We're looking at the demographics of the areas where crime is mostly heightened. And then we're talking about racial profiling. We're talking about police abuse, abusing their powers and so forth. How do you see that being played out in Trinidad and Tobago, taking our society and what has become societal norms amongst us into consideration?
That can play out, and obviously the politicians will use it to their own ends and amplify it when perhaps it need not be amplified. I'll make two other comments about that. One is that this does not deal with white-collar crime. Now, white-collar crime, which is money laundering and the people who are behind the drug trafficking, the major drug trafficking, the importation of arms, and human trafficking, unless we deal with white-collar crime. And if you look at the reports of the Financial Intelligence Unit, which are laid in Parliament every year, the FIU says there, maybe anywhere between $3 and $7 billion of suspicious transactions. I don't have the data in front of me, but so I'm kind of, giving up ballpark figures which have been reported over the years of suspicious transactions. And they would report that X hundred or X Y thousand suspicious transactions took place. But nobody gets prosecuted for those transactions because FIU only gathers information from those business places that are required under the FIU law to report any transactions that they believe were suspicious. But nobody gets prosecuted because the FIU has no investigative power. That lies with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and advised by the Director of Public Prosecutions. But look what has happened, for example, with the Clico matter, where, where were we now? 15 years afterwards, and so many years after the Coleman report was finalized, there'll be no prosecutions arising from that. And we could cite many other examples. So unless we deal with the societal issue of white-collar crime, which is not residing in the areas where these zones of special operations are likely to be declared, we are allowing persons to continue to engage in their criminal activity, which criminal activity is fueling the violent activity. And a couple of years ago, we had a civil society crime summit, which we call hosted by the People's Roundtable. And I had the former director of the FIU, Ms. Susan Francois. She was one of the facilitators of one of our working groups. And that issue came up, about white-collar crime, that unless we get a handle on that, we're in serious trouble. So there are a whole range of other issues. And then when you look at the question of who can declare the zones of, within the zones of special operations, you now can have an area which is known as a cordoned off area. And that cordoned off area is not declared by the Prime Minister or the National Security Council, far less the Parliament. It is really to allow the police and army command within that special zone to decide that an area could be cordoned off for 24 hours, a 24-hour curfew, a 24-hour cordon, nobody entering or leaving. Now that is giving humongous powers to the security forces without any immediate recourse, because you declare a curfew and so on, a cordoned off area for 24 hours. A citizen can't challenge that in court. That will take weeks and months. So they could repeat it, and they will have reasons why, and so on and so on.
And then in the end we have the state facing multiple lawsuits. I mean, even yesterday, Martin George and I were talking about that and how we do have police abusing their powers even within COVID-19. We would have had the fallout from that. But Mr. Abdullah, even before we wrap, because there's so much more I would love to discuss with you this morning, I want to ask you, what do you foresee as the fallout and ramifications for the business community?
Well, certain sections of the business community might feel comforted if they think that crime is being suppressed, and therefore the cost of doing business might be reduced, and there may be greater investor confidence. So that's on one side of the equation. On the other side of the equation, and these are now going to be small businesses, people with parlors and so on, who are trying to make a decent living within a community, if there's a cordoned off area and curfews and other things like that, they're going to have problems of running their little businesses. What is that going to do to the issue of income generation and wealth distribution in our society? So there's societal implications of those things. If there's a cordoned off area and a curfew, there are people who go to work coming out of those, law-abiding citizens, tens of thousands of them, who therefore may not be able to go to work. And therefore that could impact on the efficiency and productivity of other businesses, including the public service, state enterprises, and so on, outside. Because to come out, you have to get the approval of the commanders of those areas. What happens if the thing is declared at 6 o'clock in the morning and the police are busy, and you can't come out the road at 6 o'clock to go to work? Are you going to then look for the commander to get a written up? The whole set of implications that for the business community. And then, regretfully, the government has tacked on to this at the very end something called committees, which committees are supposed to look at long-term or sustainable development plans for the communities and so on, which therefore suggest in the minds of the government that the communities that are likely to be targeted as special zones are communities that are underdeveloped historically. And that blame has to go to the PNM because they've been in government for longer than anybody else, and areas which the PNM traditionally represents along the East-West corridor, which are underdeveloped, where people do not have the same access to opportunities for income and wealth and education because of a whole set of things that. So why tack on those two provisions? Those things should not be part of a crime suppression thing. Social transformation committees is what it is called. Those things, issues of a social transformation committee should be quite separate and apart from a bill that is suppressing crime. And I remember when Dr. Rowley actually, I'm no great defender of him, but he did bring to Parliament, I think, a proposal when he was Minister of Planning for when Mr. Manning was Prime Minister, and somebody might correct me on my memory, for the declaration of certain areas as special areas for attention, for resources and so on to be allocated to deal with underdevelopment. And I remember that being shut down by the then UNC opposition as being discriminatory and so on and so on and so on. But now they're talking about social transformation committee. That is really deceptive to put that in this piece of legislation.
Right. Mr. Abdullah, thank you so much. And you know what, as this bill progresses, as time goes on, and even if we see the implementation, we would definitely be inviting you back here to continue this conversation because there's so much more that we need to touch on. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sunrise on Tobago Updates Television.
Thank you for having me. And the debate in the Senate is going to be critically important because if the government does not get the required special majority, which would necessitate quite a few independent senators voting with it, then the bill will fail.
Will fail. All right. So we pay attention to that. Have a great day today, Mr. Abdullah. All right, viewers, we were talking to politician, economist, and trade unionist David Abdullah as we talk about zones of special operations. The programming here on Sunrise is done for the day. I'm sorry, but you know what? It is not done on Tobago Updates Television. We head on over to the morning show with the lovely Vanessa and, of course, the very, very handsome Akinlabi in black today. Did I miss the memo, guys?
You probably did, but
and I actually have a thing now where we realize it's just about great minds thinking alike.
That's right.
We just show up in the same colors in the morning.
Listen, well, Sunrise is feeling a little left out, so please, do some sort of telepathic something and send a message my way. So tomorrow we'll be on par, okay?
Okay, no problem.
All right, guys, you all have a really good day today. All right, viewers, you head on over to the morning show, and I would see you tomorrow after the morning show. It is Chanel Felix with a good morning Tobago. I want to wish you a really wonderful day. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.
Long time I see you, Joe. This station preparation complete. Already ready for children party. Mommy! Jay, you can't go nowhere with these children. And you know you can't depend on Kevin neither Stephen to see about them. Yes, total waste. So I supposed to stay home whole time? Jada is 12. She could see about them. You just leave Jada to see about Kia and Kayla? I thought it's your mother or your sister. Who? Them always busy. Jada could handle that. She cooking and cleaning a long time. And the next two better know what time it is. It's only me, you know. I will talk to my mother. She just home these days. She will make sure the children okay. Alright. Let me see the moves for later.
Before you ramage, make sure the children okay. Call 996 to report all child abuse now. A message from the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago.
The Caribbean is more than just a place. It's a spirit, resilient, vibrant, and full of possibility. Rooted in connection, driven by community. It's who we are at the heart of everything we do. For over 150 years, we've been right here, invested in the Caribbean, its people, and its progress. And today, we're going even further. Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning and welcome to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. Today is Tuesday, the 20th of January 2026. Yes, the week is moving fast. We are here on the second work day of the week. I am Akinlabi Kola, and joining me in the studio is the lovely Renessa Ortiz. Good morning, Renessa.
Good morning, Akinlabi. Thank you for remembering this morning.
The two of you. You're just one lovely. I have to keep that too.
Yes. I really appreciate it. Good morning to our viewers here on Tobago Updates Morning Show. It's always a pleasure having you in studio with us this morning. We have so many conversations to get into. But before we do that, Akinlabi.
Before we do any of that, viewers, we head on over to our news in 90 seconds.
And here's what's making news in 90 seconds for Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. Tobago's youth bands took on the great stage at Queen's Park Savannah on Sunday, January 18th, as 3 of its youth steel bands proudly represented the island in the National Junior Panorama 21 and under category. Leading the celebration was Tobago's Uptown Fascinators Youth Steel Orchestra, RBC Redemption Songsetters Youth Academy, and Cats and Jammers Youth, all carrying Tobago's rhythm and spirit onto the Savannah stage. When the final results were announced, Shell Invaders Youth Steel Orchestra claimed the championship, while Tobago's bands placed 8th, 9th, and 10th, proving once again that the island's young panists continue to make their presence felt on the national stage. Up next, a recent viral post circulating rules surrounding girls' hairstyles at Faizabad Secondary School has prompted a response from the Ministry of Education. In a media release yesterday, the ministry clarified that no student should be denied access to education because of their hairstyle. It explained that the National School Code of Conduct does not ban specific hairstyles, but offers general principles requiring school grooming rules to be reasonable, fair, and non-discriminatory. While schools may set grooming guidelines to support order and discipline, these must respect students' dignity, cultural identity, and personal expression. Education Minister Dr. Michael Dowlat stressed that grooming policies should never exclude a child from learning, reaffirming that the best interest of the child remains the ministry's guiding principle. And finally, in some uncommon news of sports, Trinidad and Tobago has etched its name in the history books after qualifying for the first time in both the 2-man and 4-man bobsleigh events, signaling a new era for the country on the ice. The 5-member squad consisting of Axel Brown, Shaquille John, DeAndre John, Zaveri Williams, and Micah Moore has secured this prestigious spot through immense dedication and performance under coach Lee Johnston. The team surged into the world's top 17 rankings ahead of the Milan Cortina Games as they get ready to represent the red, white, and black on the global stage. These and other stories on our major newscasts at 6:30 p.m. Be viewing Tobago Updates Television, and that was your news in 90 seconds.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, for that news in 90 seconds. And we want to say congratulations to Tobago's 3 junior panorama bands in the 21 and under category for representing the island very well. Making it to the finals in itself was an achievement, Vanessa, and we want to congratulate them for such a stellar performance in the final on Sunday.
Yeah, it's no easy feat having to do all the practice and rehearsal to go down and you're hoping for a spot in the finals.
Yeah.
And then you see all that hard work paying off. It really sends a message to yourself that I am capable of all the things that I want to do. And especially for a young Tobago panelists being able to be on the national stage and showcasing all that they have to offer.
And I know for some, this was the first time back. Some arrangers, this was the first time arranging as well. And you know, to make it to the finals and perform so well, it's a good signal for the future. You know, and we hope that they continue to strive year after year and grow year after year. And you know, one day they might be on the big stage in the senior category, lifting a trophy. Who knows?
Who knows? It's very possible.
Yes. So we want to encourage them to continue growing and continue developing. In other news that was expressed, you know, it's very unfortunate that in the Caribbean space, we still have this fight with our hair. You know, it's quite unfortunate, but I am very encouraged by the stance that the Ministry of Education took concerning the matter.
Because when I was in school, I was also an SU, and it was very disheartening for the girls with the natural curly, kinky curly hair.
Yeah.
They probably don't know how else to groom their hair, so they would put it up in a ponytail, and you know, gravity and natural black hair, it doesn't operate, or hair always goes up. So then to hear that your school is passing rules about something you can't directly change about yourself, it sends a message. So again, I'm really happy that the ministry took the stance that they did. I could understand from the school's point of view when hair goes past the shoulders. In terms of the braiding, I could understand that, because there are some persons whose natural, their ethnicity, their hair actually is longer than that. So we just need to take things into consideration based on the students that are attending the school.
And I think it's kind of a slippery slope for schools. They might be thinking of it as a slippery slope. If we allow one thing, then what's to stop the other, and what's to stop the other, and before you know it, children coming to school with purple hair and red hair and all kinds of things. But we have to find our balance, because we can't really fight persons for their natural hair. Yeah,
because we are a melting pot of so many different cultures here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes. Okay, so thank you very much again, Vanessa, for that news in 90 seconds. And viewers, it's time to head on over to that time where we celebrate with those who celebrate with us. It's time for our birthday shout-outs. Yes, and at Tobago Updates, we like to celebrate with everyone who is celebrating, no matter what you're celebrating. And we start off by saying happy 95th birthday to Frederick McMillan from Roxborough. And this is coming from your 13 children and 48 grandchildren. And you have 32 great-grandchildren. Oh, wow. 95 not out. We wish you God's richest blessings, sir. And we hope that you make it, you go strong to that 100, maybe that 105, maybe 110. Who knows?
Up next, we have Giselle Thomas. Happy birthday here from the Tobago Updates family. Wishing you a bright day, wishing you a prosperous year ahead. Up next, we have
Mr. Jody Guy. Mr. Jody Guy, happy birthday to you. God's richest blessings. The ever popular Jody Guy. We hope that God keeps you in this upcoming year, and everything you set your heart to, you achieve.
Ioma Stewart McDougall, happy birthday to you. Wishing you all God's richest blessings upon your life, and a today spent with all your loved ones and those who wish you well.
Happy birthday to Mr. Ellis Abraham. Happy birthday to you, sir. God's richest blessings. Today is a special day. You know, you've been on this earth for quite some time, and you've been blessing persons with your presence. We pray that you continue to be a blessing to those around you, and as in this upcoming year, you take some time off to reflect and put God in everything that you seek to accomplish.
And last but certainly not least, we have Kirby Fleming Glaze. Happy birthday from us here at the Tobago Updates family. Wishing you a bright day ahead, prosperity, and all your goals will be achieved in this new year. Happy birthday again from us.
Yes, viewers, and whatever you're celebrating, we would like to celebrate with you, whether it's a birthday, anniversary, graduation, whatever it is, a new job, we want to celebrate with you. Send us your information, and Tobago, Trinidad, the Caribbean, and the wider world will celebrate with you. So, Vanessa, tell us, who do we have on the program this morning?
This morning we have Jason Arthur, political social media commenter, and we're talking about what does the THA election results really mean. After that, we have Nikhil Farmer, national player, Caden Hills, national player, and Kevin James, coach at Catches Volleyball Club. And they're just going to give us a brief about what the club is all about, probably talk about the players and their selection on the national team. And that's what we have in store for us here at Tobago Updates this morning.
All right, viewers, we have a nice mix. We're still talking about the elections. It's just been just over a week since the election results, that shocking election results. And we still have to talk about it. We still need to talk about it. So thank you for viewing with us, whether you're on our Facebook Live or YouTube channel, 102 on AMPLIA, 121 or 130 on Flow, or 33 on Digital. Whether you're in Tobago, Trinidad, the Caribbean, or the wider world, we want to thank you for making Tobago Updates Tobago's #1 television station. And we ask you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back after these messages.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest, we protect. Everyone benefits.
Our world is filled with rhythm. Rhythm that's unapologetic, infectious, timeless. Rhythm is commitment in action. It's how we show up for each other with unrelenting support that goes the distance. Rhythm lives in the tiny beats of our most intimate moments and the seismic roars of our biggest achievements. Rhythm is resilience in motion. So even when things go out of sync, we do what it takes to bring the rhythm back. At Flow, we understand your rhythm because we live it. That's why we're dedicated to building a network as resilient as you, with a team of familiar faces working every day to keep you on beat. You're at the heart of everything we do, and our commitment is to keep your rhythm flowing, no matter what.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and the service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl, and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At TGSL, we don't just meet needs, we exceed expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products. It's about relationships, it's about you. Innovation, quality, service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, buljoil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Hair goals, we've got them. At S&R Hair Fantasy, we provide a wide variety of quality hair, the latest hair accessories, adult toys, skin lightening products, female underwear, and much more under one roof. Check us out on Shelbourne Street in Plymouth or call us at 317-0808. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. S&R Hair Fantasy, for queens who know exactly what they want.
Our world is filled with rhythm. Rhythm that's unapologetic, infectious, timeless. Rhythm is commitment in action. It's how we show up for each other with unrelenting support that goes the distance. Rhythm lives in the tiny beats of our most intimate moments and the seismic roars of our biggest achievements. Rhythm is resilience in motion. So even when things go out of sync, we do what it takes to bring the rhythm back. At Flow, we understand your rhythm because we live it. That's why we're dedicated to building a network as resilient as you, with a team of familiar faces working every day to keep you on beat. You're at the heart of everything we do, and our commitment is to keep your rhythm flowing, no matter what.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and the service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl, and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At TGSL, we don't just meet needs, we exceed expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products. It's about relationships, it's about you. Innovation, quality, service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, and we see here we have a live traffic report for you all. Traffic seems to be flowing very well. This is at the Wilson Road traffic light, right opposite of Penny Savers in that vicinity. We have pretty free-flowing traffic going from east to west. We have north to south waiting to be allowed to move on the traffic lights there. It's piling up. Persons are coming out to work, heading out to work. You can now see the traffic really starting to get active at this point in time. Persons coming from the Plymouth Road area coming into Scarborough there. So make your way to work right now if you want to avoid the traffic. It's still very decent. It will get a bit more dicey around the 8 a.m. time period. So try to be early. Yes. And that was your traffic update for January 20th, 2026.
Now, there has been a lot of talk about what the results of the election means. Some of it surrounds what it means for the both parties. Some of it surrounds what it means for Tobago's future. But a part of the discussion has been about what the actual turnout percentage means for the morale of the Tobago voter. This morning's discussion will take a look at the actual figures in historical terms and then attempt to comment on what this year's numbers might mean in terms of the average voter's feelings about the election. And here to talk about it is our local and frequent social media commenter on many things political, Mr. Jason Arthur. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, Akilabi. Good morning, Miss Renessa.
Now, Jason, you've been very active online analyzing Tobago's political climate. From your perspective, what do the THA election results really mean beyond the headlines?
Well, I think one of the things that might make sense is to sort of go through the numbers through the years. And then once we kind of go through the numbers through the years, then when I say what I think these numbers mean, it may make better sense than to just say it.
All right, well, let's go through those numbers there. You have something to show the people of Tobago.
Yes, I do. And I'm hoping that it starts coming up soon enough. What I did was took all the numbers throughout the years, did a number of different things with those numbers, but specific to this morning, there's a particular part of what I did that I am going to go through. And once I'm done with that, then we can make some sense of it. So what we're seeing here is a Tobago elections archive in terms of the results. And obviously we have the election year here, we have the turnout, which is really what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
We have the size of the electorate at the particular point in time, and the votes cast and accepted. And I won't go through the rest of this stuff. The rest of this is just for another time. But let's look at what it is we're actually talking about, which is the turnout. So we have 1980, 66.2%, and 1984, 70.2%. Now, those two figures, at least for me, represent a sort of enthusiasm, right, when we just started voting, right? And I would expect, and I think anybody would expect, that those figures would drop eventually, and they would sort of normalize. And so you see a precipitous drop, I would say, to 1988, 53.5%. And as you keep going, 56. A couple of older people told me that this particularly low number here was because of a particular issue that was happening at a particular point in time. So it's kind of an anomaly in terms of the numbers. 2001, when the PNM first won, we jumped up to 60.1%. And then you keep going. 2005, 54, 56.4. We all know that this here is also an anomaly, right? This was a response to what people thought was likely to happen in 2001, 12-0. And so again, 2013, sorry. And so this again is an anomaly, right? Yes. 70.1%. And then we have 49.7%. The last time the PNM actually won in Tobago. And again, a precipitous drop from 70.1 to 49.7. So clearly this 70.1 wasn't actually about the PNM per se, right? Yes. It was a response to a threat. The very next 4 years, it dropped a full 20 points, 49.7. By the time you get to 2021, with the 6-6 tie, you're at 51.8%. And then when you get to 2021 December, you're at 57%. And now 2026, we're at 50.5%. So what we see in here really is that the average voter turnout for Tobago is 57% if you add all of the years. Of course, it doesn't make sense to include 2026 if you want to interpret what 2026 looks like. So what you would do, could they go back to the screen, please? So what you would do is take out 2026, and now you see the average voter turnout is 57.5. Again, if you come and you say, all right, I don't like this figure because this is an anomaly, you take that one out, and now you're at 56.4%. So obviously, this is 50.5, and this is 56.4. You can kind of tell that it is low relative to our average. Yes. Now, there are all kinds of stories in these numbers. One of the things that you do see is that when Tobagonians are excited, the number jumps up, right, to right around that average, right, a lot of times. And when they're not, it kind of just hovers around 50%. At least that's what I've seen mostly. Yeah. So this is kind of, if I am to talk about these figures, this is how I'm looking at these figures. I think when the figures were released, or when some figures were released, I shouldn't say the figures. Initially, we saw 28%, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, that has been trashed, right? But I do think that what has lingered is this idea that the turnout was very low. It wasn't very low, it was relatively low. But we have had at least 1 or 2 years lower than that before. As recent as 2017, 49.7%.
So Jason, the relatively low figure, is that, some persons are saying it's a sense of apathy, some persons are saying, well, when you are satisfied with the administration, you don't see a high voter turnout. what do you think it means in terms of the motivations of the electorate?
So I do think, I did a quick sort of write-up at the bottom of this, and eventually I guess we can read from it, but that figure is an aggregate figure, right? And an aggregate means it's trying to tell a story about the entire island, right? And if you look at the aggregate figure, it does say that in terms of enthusiasm, it's not necessarily at the level that we would like it to be historically. But because it's an aggregate figure, there are some stories in there if you disaggregate. So I'm just going to sort of read from what I have here, and then we can finish the discussion. Special note on the 50.5% turnout. While it's important to note that the 50.5% figure and its relationship to that of the other years, it's also important to note that it is an aggregate figure. And while this aggregate is telling us that the larger story of the election is the fact that voter turnout was low compared to other years, because it's an aggregate, meaning that it can be disaggregated, we know that in disaggregating it, we will find the sub-stories. What are the sub-stories? In particular, if you look at the number of votes the TPP got in 2021, THA election, 16,932, versus what it got in the 2026 THA election, 16,240, you realize that the party lost 692 votes, which works out to approximately a 4.1% drop in the TPP's vote tally from 2021 to 2026. Similarly, if you look at the number of votes the PNM got in the 2021 THA election, 11,941, versus what it got in the 2026 THA election, 10,456, you realize that the party lost 1,485 votes, which works out to approximately a 12.4% drop in the PNM's vote tally from 2021 to 2026. So what does this mean? Well, for one thing, it means that the rate at which people who are willing to vote for the PNM but unwilling to vote for the PDP decided to abstain from voting was far greater than the rate at which people who are willing to vote for the TPP but unwilling to vote for the PNM abstain from voting. So, and when you take into consideration the fact that the PNM was not in government, any sort of disenchantment has nothing to do with governance. You realize that the real issue with the PNM is that quite a number of their party base does not necessarily view the party in the way that they used to. On the other hand, with respect to the TPP, that small percentage drop sort of says something to you, that though people may not be 100% satisfied, they haven't withdrawn from the party at the same rate. So I'm saying there is the aggregate figure, but then when you dig into the figures, there is more there.
Now, some argue that low turnout reflects satisfaction, others say it reflects disillusionment. In your view, what do you think was the overall view of the electorate in terms of this THA election, in terms of the figures that we are seeing?
And again, I think I sort of just touched on it. I do think that, again, if you view it as an aggregate, you see, okay, people are a little bit unenthusiastic or whatever the case may be. But we have to also understand that when it comes to elections, there's a segment of the population that only is willing to vote one way. Yeah? And there's a segment of the population that is only willing to vote the other way. And if a segment of the population decides it is not voting, it will suppress the figures. Absolutely it will. So to me, at least when I look at it, there's still excitement on the TPP side, but there's a real lack of excitement on the PNM side. And yes, generally, at the end of the day, if you look at the data, you will see that it's not as encouraging as you want it to be. For me, all that really says for the TPP is that you're in government now. People are still excited about you. However, not as excited as they used to be. And so you have a job to do. And the job to do is to get people excited again. One of the other things that I saw in the figures, I looked at what was the average percentage of the electorate that the PNM typically would get when it won elections, and I look at the average that the TPP gets, right, or all of the opposing parties, whether it be the TPP, whether it be the DAC or the NOW, whatever, and you saw a full percentage, 4% difference in terms of excitement. So when people are really excited about the PNM, it still gets a little bit less, 4%, which is hundreds and hundreds, of votes. So again, you're seeing similarly now with the TPP. So you understand that yes, there is excitement there. There is still excitement there, but the excitement seems to be about its potential. And at the end of the day, it has to live up to its potential to be able to maintain the excitement.
So I have two questions for you. As you mentioned, those two things. One is concerning the TPP. We saw a smaller drop in percentage votes for the TPP this elections. Could it be that it's not necessarily persons not being excited about the TPP, but more so persons who would have traditionally supported the PNM sort of going back to the PNM to support them, or just deciding to not vote for either party at all?
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think it much matters whether those voters were PNM voters or voters inclined to vote for the TPP. The point is, I voted for you before, right? And if I don't go back to vote for you, it's saying something about how I view you. You understand what I'm saying? Right? So, so I don't think that can be discounted. And I'm not saying that you're saying that. I'm saying that it is something to look at. If I had 100 voters the last time, I want to have more than 100 voters this time. And I do think that the Chief Sec has spoken in a manner that says that he recognizes, he recognizes this. In fact, he said so last year when they won the 2 seats, Tobago East and Tobago West. And now he has some numbers in a real THA election that is communicating to him a certain amount of, hey, we want to see more. And I think that's the message. And as long as they receive the message well, they shouldn't have a problem in the next 4 years.
So the other question I wanted to ask is concerning the PNM. You mentioned that when persons are excited about each party or each political organization, whatever it may be, the PNM's level of increase is smaller than that of the other opposing parties. The percentage increase,
but it's not so much the increase. The average rate at which people vote for them, so meaning if the electorate size is 50, let's say, sorry, let's use an easy figure, 100, how much does the PNM get, right, out of that electorate size? Typically, it's right around like 29% of the size of the electorate. Typically, on the other side, it will get 33% of the electorate.
Okay, so does that suggest now for the PNM that they sort of capped their level of support on the island, meaning that we know that the PNM has just over 10,000 members of the party in Tobago. Last report, that was a few years back.
Okay.
Do you think that figure means that they've sort of capped how far they could go in terms of amassing support on the island, and whereas the TPP, they have a larger reserve of untapped support that they could get into in terms of those persons who don't normally vote, those persons who might feel a sense of apathy towards the election process and governance and that kind of thing?
So the average share of the electorate that the TPP gets, or not just the TPP, but whether it be the NAD, the DAC, or whoever, what they get compared to the PNM, like I said, is a little bit more than 4%. So it does say to you that the PNM does seem to have a sort of a cap, right? Now, when I do this average, I take out 2013, right? Because we know that's an anomaly, right? That was not about the PNM per se.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure I say that. So it does suggest that no matter how excited people are about the PNM, it's never as high when it is the others. So that does suggest something. But again, that's just averages. If we are talking right now, today terms, and we're comparing recent years, yeah, obviously there's a real drop in support for the PNM. And we know that just from talking to PNMites, right? So the question really is for them, how do they regroup, right? How do they regroup and change the perception of the electorate? Now, what is the exact perception? I don't know. They should know, right? They have been doing their town hall meetings and stuff like that. They should know what people think. And once you know what people think, and you also know what you want them to think, it's just a sort of a straight line from where you are now to get to where you would want to be in terms of perception.
Now, earlier you spoke about potential and the electorate being excited about the TPP and what they have done over the last 4 years now. When we're looking at campaigning and the messaging that is sent throughout the campaign trail, I want to know how much of this result do you attribute to campaign strategy versus public perception? Because at the end of the day, when the electorate is looking on, they are looking to see what appeases them, what sounds the best for them, and in return, what is best for Tobago. So how much of that do you attribute to the campaign?
I actually, I remember a few years ago, after they won the first time, and I was talking to a couple of members of the party, and I think I did get them a little bit ticked off. I said, this win, while I would say this was a good win, I don't think you should pat yourself on the back that much, because I think people were fed up of the PNM, right? So while your campaign was a good campaign, understand that part of the wind in the sails of your campaign was the fact that people were fed up of the PNM. I said, let me see if you all could win that next election. And then I would start saying, okay, you all really can campaign. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think this year really proved that the TPP is a powerful force in terms of their ability to campaign. The fact of the matter is, the last 4 years, with all the fighting back and forth and so forth, any electorate would be tired. Mm-hmm. Any electorate, wherever you go, right? It doesn't matter whether it was the TPP's fault or the PNM's fault. Generally, people can't become excited about fighting. And for you to come out of that and run a campaign that produced this result shows you that the TPP has some skill in campaigning. Now, if you want to talk very specifically about the messaging, I do feel as though the TPP did something that the PNM did to the TOP a few years ago. The TOP is a local party, mm-hmm. but the PNM's campaign was in defense of Tobago. Mm-hmm. And they literally snatched that local party vibe, if you want to call it that, from the TOP, right? Well, the TOP allowed that to happen. I think the TPP has now done the reverse. The TPP is being viewed as the local party. Now, I mean, we're saying being viewed. They are the local party, yes? But you can be the local party in your origin and whatever and still get that label stolen from you. It has happened before, mm-hmm. right? But they have taken it back. This is the local Tobago party that is here to try to see about Tobago affairs. And I think that has resonated a lot with the population in terms of its messaging. And it feels authentic, I think, more so than when the PNM tries to do it.
Now, I know I was talking to a couple of persons within the PNM, and one of them, they always tell me the PNM has a big challenge in Tobago in terms of the appeal to Tobagoans not being a Tobago-based party, not being a party that came out of the bowels of Tobago. And we saw that the PNM tried this year to fashion themselves as a Tobago-centric party that is looking after Tobago, and they want to make Tobago, for lack of better words, make Tobago great again. Putting Tobago first again was their slogan.
Yes.
How can the PNM in your estimation, go about to reimagine themselves or to reshape themselves in the imagination of the Tobago electorate?
Now, I thought where you were going was, how can they make people believe that they are the Tobago party?
Well, essentially, that's what I want to get to.
Good,
yes.
Right. I don't think that two parties can wear that at the same time. Right? I don't think so. And so the TPP would have to perform badly enough, and not just perform badly, because it's one thing to not get a whole lot of results, but it's another thing to look as though you are seeking other people's interests above and beyond Tobago's interests. And that particular part of the issue is where they would have to do very badly. And if they do very badly there, then I could see the PNM coming in and try to retake that claim. But two parties can't wear that at the same time, right? They can't. And so as long as the TPP is wearing that, and for as long as that is the main concern of Tobagonians, they will win. Now, it's possible that maybe you could be viewed as a Tobago party seeking Tobago interests, and maybe something else supplants that. I don't see how that could be, because if I'm viewing you as the Tobago party that is seeking Tobago interests, what I'm essentially saying is the results that I'm seeing you getting say to me that you're seeing after Tobago's interests. So how could that be, and then you still lose an election? So that's kind of very difficult. But I can't see two parties wearing the same label.
So then what could the PNM do in the meantime? If the TPP continues to successfully label them as the Tobago party, and they're doing all these things in the interest of Tobago, what can the PNM do in those years? Because you're basically saying the TPP has to mess up big time in order for the PNM to win.
Well, I think at the end of the day, that's true anywhere you go, right? The reason people vote parties out is because they're not doing well, right? So you have to have an opportunity as the party that's not in power to get in. And your opportunity is the actual failure of the incumbent or the perceived failure of the incumbent. And I'm distinguishing between those two, because oftentimes parties are doing better than it seems because the opposition is really good at making you look bad. So one or two of those things has to happen. And then after that happens, then you have an opportunity now to actually get in there and try to prove, okay, we are the better fit. But they absolutely need that. The incumbent has to mess up to give the person waiting in the wings or the party waiting in the wings an opportunity.
Now, Mr. Author, we would just want to thank you so much for coming on this morning and sharing with us the figures, explaining to us what the aggregate numbers are, giving us the general trend over the years, and giving the public that opportunity to do their research for themselves as well, and to dive into what it means for Tobago and the electorate when it comes to the THA elections. I want to thank you so much this morning for coming on.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Now, to our viewers, we'll be right back with another conversation, but don't forget to share the live,
share the live, share the live.
Tobago, the sun is rising, and so are the conversations that matter, from the economy to education, from healthcare to community voices. No spin, no fluff, just facts, truth, and clarity. Join me, Lavian, as we cover the issues that shape our lives, the stories we can't ignore. We bring them to the table and ask the questions you want answered.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Hair goals, we've got them. At S&R Hair Fantasy, we provide a wide variety of quality hair, the latest hair accessories, adult toys, skin lightening products, female underwear, and much more under one roof. Check us out on Shelbourne Street in Plymouth or call us at 317-0808. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. S&R Hair Fantasy for queens who know exactly what they want.
How it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna. Look up below, 'cause this is your show. Live more.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and the service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl, and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At TGSL, we don't just meet needs, we exceed expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products. It's about relationships, it's about you. Innovation, quality, service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest, we protect. Everyone benefits.
The Caribbean is more than just a place. It's a spirit, resilient, vibrant, and full of possibility. It's who we are and the heart of everything we do. For over 150 years, we've been right here, invested in the Caribbean, its people, and its progress. And today, we're going even further. We're deepening our commitment to the region, continuing to invest in the networks, services, and digital solutions that move Caribbean businesses forward. Whether you are a mid-sized business or multinational player, we bring you resilient connectivity, personalized service, and tailored IT solutions, all powered by local teams that truly have your back. We're here to help you navigate challenges, grow, and achieve your goals with practical solutions, reliable networks, and a partnership rooted in trust and your long-term success. Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Yes, viewers, and once again we're looking at the traffic here at Wilson Road. This is at Spring Garden traffic light, actually, and you can see the activity picking up. Yes, the activity is picking up, but the traffic is still moving smoothly. So make sure and get out there early enough so that you can avoid the traffic. But right now on the Claude Noel Highway, it is smooth sailings, but we can see the traffic starting to pile up there, coming from the westerly direction into Scarborough. So make sure and get out to get to work as early as possible, and if possible, maybe use some back roads, avoid the traffic, use some back roads and get into Scarborough. Yes, viewers, so we have in studio here with us Mr. Nikhil Farmer, who's a national volleyball player, as well as Caden Hills, who's also a national volleyball player, and they are here with their coach, Mr. Kevin James, to talk about CAJ Volleyball Club. Good morning and welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
All right, so tell us, Mr. James, tell us a little bit about CAJ Volleyball Club.
CAJ Volleyball Club, we first started off at Plymouth Recreational Grounds. Now we just train at Bishop's High School on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
And why CAJ? What does the word CAJ symbolize?
My daughter, a firstborn.
Firstborn daughter. Yeah. She's a volleyball activist. She like volleyball.
Well, when we was in Plymouth, I used to carry she with me, so she could take up a ball and run around, and she want to play with me too. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just registered the club in Sheenham as well.
Okay, and tell us what really motivated you to start the club in the first place?
Well, I was a former national player as well, and I fall in love with the sport. So I choose that to give back to the youths as well in Tobago.
Okay.
So that is how I choose to coach at Bishop's High School and develop a school league in Tobago, because in my time, we never really had a school volleyball league in Tobago. So Bishop's was the first school, and then Signal. So we got school league, then national players.
All right, and gentlemen, Mr. Farmer, you are a member of the volleyball club as well.
Yes, sir.
What has your experience been like thus far in the club?
Well, I would say, well, as I came, well, I got scared because I see older, bigger players, and when they used to hit the ball at me, I used to got afraid and run away. But now, as time went on, I got better, and eventually I came up to par with them. So it's been a good ride so far.
Well, and Kaden, tell me, how has the club really helped develop your skills in the sport?
Well, the club has helped me develop my skills tremendously, because I remembered starting, now coming back from football, and I didn't know how to pass, I didn't know how to set. All I just knew to jump and hit the ball. And to me, it was a very, very nice experience, learning new skills, meeting new people, and overall it was a good experience.
So for the two of y'all, did y'all become national players before you joined the club, or was it after you joined the club?
No, it was after.
After.
So the club really helped to develop your skills and
yes, sir,
get you all international. So coach, tell me, how did you you develop these young men into national players, to the quality of national players? But how does one go from playing the sport into getting into that screening for national, to be picked on a national team?
Well, as a coach, you have to see the potential in the athlete, and you have to put patience and time behind them, because you have to put some discipline into them as well. So after you have that discipline, you keep on the consistency and focus with them. Then you reach out to the federation in Trinidad for some sort of assistance. But then the athletes now from Tobago, coming from Tobago, it's hard for them because they have to travel to Trinidad all the time to train with the team. And if they ain't got on enough training, they might get selected. So it all comes to their parents now, who could afford the funding to go and train with the national team in Trinidad.
And for persons who might be wanting to get their children into volleyball, and to developing this sport, how do they get in contact with you? How do they link up with you to get their children started?
WhatsApp, you could WhatsApp me, or you could call me at 312-0780, or on Facebook, my name is Kevin James. That's it.
And just repeat for the viewers, what days do you all train, time and the days that you all train?
The days, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
And gentlemen, just one last thing. If you have to encourage your peers to come and join the volleyball club, just talk to them about the benefits of CAJ Volleyball Club.
Well, it's really a beginner club, so if you're now joining, it's a good place to start, and it's a good environment. It's not really a place where is really plenty tension. It's just a fun environment on a whole, and you can really develop your skills on them day, and after you develop, you could, go on abroad or just to another intermediate club.
What about you, Kaden?
I find, as Farmer said, it is a beginner's club. When you join, I hope that you don't be afraid to, learn these skills, because a lot of players are afraid to, mess up. But volleyball and every other sport is a learning sport. It takes time to develop skill. You won't get it right away. And as Farmer said, it is the sport, the club, it no tension at all. It's fun, and you can enjoy yourself.
All right, viewers, you heard it there. So if you are interested in joining the volleyball club, or you're interested in registering your child to, venture into a new sport, CAJ Volleyball Club is the place for you to send your child. Viewers, unfortunately, we have come to the end of the morning show, but the Tobago Updates programming does not end here. We continue over to GMT with Chanel Felix. So do us a favor. Share the live, share the live, share the live. Good Morning Tobago is up next.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place.
This year's summit, it takes a slight different approach compared to last year. Based on the persons who had came, the students who had came, we felt that we should have a section focused for the students because that is where the agri-technology would start from, where the innovators are. So this year we take our focus on the students as well as we incorporated different persons within the country of Trinidad and Tobago. And we got exhibitors from right here on this island who are invested in innovation and agriculture and technology.
Produce Tobago is an online multi-vendor marketplace website which facilitates buying and selling along the agricultural value chain. So if you are selling agricultural inputs like fertilizer or seedlings, you can sell on the website. If you're an agro-processor, you could also sell your pepper sauces, your nuts, that sort of stuff on the website. Even if you provide agricultural services, as it says, it's agricultural technology, and I think that this is innovative in and of itself to bridge gaps in the agricultural landscape. So I felt like it was important to bring it to the people of Tobago.
I help companies, farmers, food processors, anywhere along the chain, build and implement their food safety and quality management systems, as well as an educator, because that's where it starts. I think that it is important because it helps you not only be current and up to date, but with so many changes happening in the climate, it's important to leverage technology so that you don't be at a loss. Why not use the technology that we have available to us? Don't be afraid of it, to empower your operations so that you can be more efficient, effective, and profitable in the long run.
Well, I'm here at the summit today to learn more about agriculture and to know how far agriculture can get. So normally I might think, well, agriculture is hard work, labor, but coming to the summit teach me that how well agriculture is getting easier.
It's indeed a pleasure to be here today at the summit. On one hand, we're here to learn and grow as well, because you know, with education, it's a thing that you keep learning as you go on. At the same time, we're also here to provide information on the impacts of forestry and the relevant information to stakeholders who will be here today.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
So Amari reached out to me, said, I feel I'm ready to arrange. I say, arrange what?
They're less than 1 year old, but Uptown Fascinators, the orchestra isn't bothered by that. They have taken the brave step into the National Junior Panorama for the first time.
Top to bottom, tell me what they get. Who are you going? The recap. Well, I always wanted to be a arranger and I just never had the opportunity, and
when mommy came up with the idea that we could make a junior side from Uptown, I was like, yeah, we could do that. But I wasn't have enough players, and from when we started till now, it's been a big jump in players. So I've been excited and I like the challenge.
So girls, you're getting ready for the National Junior Panorama. Tell me, what's the vibes? What are you feeling?
I'm feeling excited because it's my first Junior Panorama, and I hope that I will get a nice experience outside. So far, it's going good.
I am also excited because this is my first panorama in general, so I'm really now getting to experience it. So far I love the experience, I love my double second pan, and the music sweet, so yeah.
Pan is a beautiful sounding instrument. I would love to play it at any time, even at home. Anywhere, anytime.
I would love to play the preliminary rounds. I'm very confident. I am happy that it's coming up. I love how it's competitive. I love to be competitive. Junior Panorama, it's very exciting.
He had 2 songs that he had scored early up in the year. One for school and one because he just felt like scoring it. Because he started scoring like 2 years now. He would play it for us at home, he would say, nah, change that, add something else. Put in this, take out that, put in this. So he was tweaking out. We call the parents that we know interested in PAM because a lot of parents used to reach out to us about getting their children involved in the CPAC because they know our children are involved. When it comes to the manager, I'm not mommy. I'm just the manager. Mommy home, manager here, and they understand that. So when it's time for practice, we're serious, we get serious, I let them know up front, this is what we expect and this is the outcome that we want to get, and automatically they get it.
I grew up in Pan. Everybody in my family could play Pan, so I had no choice in our way, but I didn't really fight it because I love playing Pan, I love music on a whole, and I just enjoy the vibes from the bands I've been with, played with, and yeah, I believe Pan is a big part in my life and music too. I hope that we could go and wow the judges with our wonderful and amazing performance, and hopefully the judges can be like, wow, this is a nice, amazing song, and hopefully we make it to Trinidad and we could be able to win the competition.
Just spell ways like it is your profession. I go wait, tell you about my confession.
You're viewing Tobago Updates Television, your exclusive gateway to Tobago, broadcasting the beauty of this island paradise to the world.
It's a brand new morning, right?
welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix, and guys, you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have while I ask those questions that you want asked. But before we get into this morning's interesting topics and conversations, let's have our news in 90 seconds. Tobago's youth bands took on the great stage at Queen's Park Savannah on Sunday, January 18th, as 3 of its youth steel bands proudly represented the island in the National Junior Panorama 21 and under category. Leading the celebrations was Tobago's Uptown Fascinators Youth Steel Orchestra, RBC Redemption, Songsetters Youth Academy, and Cats and Jammers Youth, all carrying Tobago's rhythm and spirit onto the Savannah's stage. When the final results were announced, Shell Invaders Youth Steel Orchestra claimed the championship, while Tobago's bands placed 8th, 9th, and 10th, proving once again that the island's youth panists continue to make their presence felt on the national stage. Additionally, a recent viral post circulating rules surrounding girls' hairstyles at Faizabad Secondary School has prompted a response from the Ministry of Education. In a media release yesterday, the ministry clarified that no student should be denied access to education because of their hairstyle. It explained that the National School Code of Conduct does not ban specific hairstyles but offers general principles requiring school grooming rules to be reasonable, fair, and non-discriminatory. While schools may set grooming guidelines to support order and discipline, these must not go against students' dignity, cultural identity, and personal expression. Education Minister Dr. Michael Dowlatt stressed that grooming policies should never exclude a child from learning, reaffirming that the best interest of the child remains the ministry's guiding principles. And finally, Trinidad and Tobago has etched its name into the history books after qualifying for the very first time in both 2-man and 4-man bobsled events, signaling a new era for the country on the ice. The 5-member squad, consisting of Alex Brown, Shaquille John, DeAndre John, Xavier Williams, and Micah Moore, has secured this prestigious spot through immense dedication and performance under coach Lee Johnston. The team surged into the World's Championship ranking, top 17 ranking, ahead of Milan Cortina Games as they get ready to represent the red, white, and black on the global stage. And that was our news in 90 seconds. This morning, we jump straight ahead into our conversations, and we are chatting this morning with the Trinidad and Tobago Inter-Island Truckers Association. But before we get into that, we're going to take a little look here at our traffic report for this morning. And what we're looking at is the Bishop's High School walkover area there on the Claude Noel Highway. And as you see, the traffic is moving along quite slowly but steadily this morning. So if you are heading eastbound or westbound, there is a bit of a slow moving traffic we see there on the highway. So if you are on your way to Scarborough, it may take a bit longer than if you are heading west to the Crown Point area. That you see there is our traffic report this morning on the Claude Noel Highway. We jump straight ahead this morning and we're chatting with Mr. Nicholas Manswell, who's joining us virtually. He's the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Seabridge Truckers Association Limited, as well as Damian Edwards from Pro Movers. Good morning and welcome.
Morning.
Excellent. So this morning we're talking a bit about the Seabridge, some of the new moves for the Trinidad and Tobago Seabridge Truckers Association. Tell us a bit about this organization. When was it formed, and what is the interest, or what are the interests represented by the organization, Mr. Manswell?
Hi, well, good morning. Thank you very much for having us. It's really a pleasure to be here this morning to highlight some of the stuff that is actually happening. This organization was formed last year, June, to actually bring about some of the awareness that is actually going to be, well, I should say, happening on the port, and to strengthen the relationship with Port Authority and the TNT Seabridge Truckers Limited. Just to highlight, let me put it simply across like this, is just how should I put it to you guys? To basically have a better understanding with the Port Authority to actually strengthen and deepen the relationship with the truckers, especially because of what is actually taking place with the boat going and coming from Tobago. Thus far, we basically would have like the cargo star leaving our shores and having the Blue Wave family coming into our shores to actually take up some of the slack that the cargo star would have leave behind for us to actually do. This is where we actually have to depend on the Port Authority to put good mechanism in place to actually have a better sea bridge between Trinidad and Tobago. Thus far, the Port Authority has been doing a really, really good job in terms of actually putting mechanism in place to actually take the goods to and from Tobago in terms of actually having the Galleon's Passage and the TNT Spirit en route to and from Tobago to actually get stuff there in terms of putting some early morning sailings to actually go to Tobago, and on the evening 3 p.m. coming from Tobago to actually get stuff there. In terms of actually let's say goods not going and coming from Tobago, I really can't say that is affecting the sea bridge as such. Goods are really going and coming from Tobago. In terms of lumber and building material, that would be of a little slow going because there is a certain amount of tonnage that you could actually bring on the TNT Spirit and the Galleon's Passage, which is about 7,000 kg. Anything above that cannot go. But in terms of pharmaceutical, grocery, and all these stuff, it is going to Tobago on a regular basis. While there may be some hiccups in terms of on certain days there may be a bit of a heavy sailing, but it's something that we are working with the Port Authority to better the travel, well, I should say better the travel time and better stuff going and coming from Tobago.
Okay, and how can persons who are in business or utilize the inter-island ferry service to transport goods back and forth become a part of the organization and the work that it is doing at this time?
Well, as I said, the organization is very
Yeah, I think he had some connectivity issues. Damien, can you tell us a bit about how persons can get involved with the work that you're doing or become a part of the organization?
Either reach out to Mr. Edwards or Mr. Frank Stewart, who is also the president of the organization, and actually become a member of it. We are still doing some groundwork in terms of actually putting certain policies and certain guideline in place to have members to have people become members of the organization.
Understood. Do you have any type of notifications, Damien, or any kind of indications of when that Blue Wave Harmony should be in Trinidad and Tobago while the current contingencies are in place?
I just lost your feed, so can you repeat the question?
Do you have any indications of when the Blue Wave Harmony would be in Trinidad and Tobago, to combat the current contingencies that are in place?
All right, thanks for the question. At this time, we do not have a definite date. We are aware that the boat is in transit. It is close, but to give you a definite date of, let us say, the 22nd, the 23rd, no. However, I must, following up on what our president have just said, yes, the Port Authority are putting measures. Now, you will remember a year or a year and a half ago, we were at this place and challenges happen, but we must say that the Port Authority around this time have really put measures in place to really mitigate and to soften the blow. We must also appreciate that we have the vessels. Thank God that the TNT Spirit is back out, so that has been able to move some of the goods. As Mr. Manuel, our president, has said, is that truckers and also businesses who will move larger quantities of lumber, they have been able to use the 7,000 kg and those to bring smaller amount. But however, goods are moving and we must applaud because we are a newly minted Truckers Association. And for the correction, you would have mentioned Inter-Island. The name of the Truckers Association is TNT Seabridge Truckers Limited. And yes, we are newly formed. We are putting things together, meaning that we have just one more stuff to finalize with the banking information. We just have one outstanding document for them. Once that is cleared, and we are going to also invite truckers from the other association because it is no longer, and get everybody on board. At the end of the day, we want to partner with the Port Authority and to make sure as end users that both of us collaborate, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the service is at its premium, as well as we must emphasize that from where we sit, from the time that we have minted this organization, the Port Authority has made some strides, and we must compliment them of that. Even though there are some hiccups, they are listening and we are seeing progress.
Right, and even with the use of the Galleon Passage and the MV Car Booster, the other vessels that are being used at this time, do you think that it's sufficient to carry the weight of that boat that is on its way to Trinidad and Tobago?
Okay, well, we can speak to, and it is.
I think we lost Mr. Edwards there for a minute. Mr. Manswell, as I was asking him, do you think that the contingency put in place with the APT James and the TNT Spirit, do you think that that is sufficient to deal with the fact that the Cabo Star and the Blue Wave Harmony is still on its way?
Just for correction, is not actually the APT game, is actually the TNT Spirit and the Galleon's Passage. I will put it across to you simply like this. Yes, for now, it is actually taking up some doing a good job in terms of actually getting the stuff to and from Tobago. But however, it has not been a month yet since the cargo star left our shores. So it's too early in the game. I should say it's too early to say whether or not it's not doing good or it's doing bad. We'll just have to wait and see. If it was more than a month, then we could have said, well, yes, it's not doing what it is that it's supposed to do. But what I could say for sure is simply this. For now, it's doing a really good job, and I must recommend and thank the Port Authority for actually putting these measures in place so that people could actually get stuff to and from Tobago.
Understood. And even as we round up our discussion this morning, is there anything that you want to say to, individuals, stakeholders who are being affected by the situation at this time?
This is what we will just put it down simply to, yes, it's gonna be a very it's gonna be a bit tedious now, but all we have to do is just have some patience. Let's give the honorable minister, who I would say at this point in time is doing a fantastic job of actually getting the Blue Wave family to our shores. So let's just give them some patience. Things will work out for them in terms of everything that is happening. At the end of the day, I would just basically say, let's give them some time, have patience with them. We of the TNT Seabridge Truckers Limited, we are here to work with all entities to make sure the smooth transition of the Blue Wave Harmony into ours and what it's actually supposed to do for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you. And you, Mr. Edwards, is there anything that you want to say to, some of the Tobago business persons that may be a bit worried about the situation and how it can affect their, the smooth running of their business?
Okay, thank you very much, Chanel. I must let our Tobago public, as well as Trinidad, as was mentioned before, we are a newly minted organization, and we are going to be coming out soon. We must thank Tobago Updates for reaching out to us, and I don't know how you all got the information, but at least it says that the word is getting around. So very soon we are going to be launching, we will have a press conference and everything, and people get to know more about the TNT Seabridge Truckers Limited, how they can join. Yes, it is here, because even I as a businessman, there are times when the ticket is not available, and we understand why. Because everybody wants to get tickets, but there's so much that the TNT Spirit and the Ghanaian Passage can do. But soon, the Blue Wave is going to be here. The Port Authority is going to give us access to do a walkthrough and everything, and individuals are going to be notified. But what I want to remind our viewers and also our friends, the truckers, and also the business association, the different entities, look out soon. We are going to have a press release, and we will not leave out Tobago Updates. We're going to send necessary emails to let people know how they can join and how we can be good citizens to our country, as well as how we can partner with the port. Because at the same time, well as the port may have teething issues, we also our truckers also have some socks to pull up, because we have to always remember this, Chanel. The Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, the space that they occupy is international certified. What does that mean? There are international organizations that certify the port, and if we drop the ball as truckers, it put our port authority into disrepute, and also we as truckers as a disadvantage. So don't no more. Join the Truckers Association. We are going to make that press release when we are going to be to the media, and you'll be able to ask all the questions. Once again, thanks again for having us.
No problem. Well, we want to thank you so much, Mr. Manswell and Mr. Edwards, for being here this morning and all the work that you're doing to bring the truckers of Trinidad and Tobago together in this new organization. And we wish you all the best moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back after this. See you soon.
Our world is filled with rhythm. Rhythm that's unapologetic, infectious, timeless. Rhythm is commitment in action. It's how we show up for each other with unrelenting support that goes the distance. Rhythm lives in the tiny beats of our most intimate moments and the seismic roars of our biggest achievements. Rhythm is resilience in motion. So even when things go out of sync, we do what it takes to bring the rhythm back. At Flow, we understand your rhythm because we live it. That's why we're dedicated to building a network as resilient as you, with a team of familiar faces working every day to keep you on beat. You're at the heart of everything we do, and our commitment is to keep your rhythm flowing, no matter what.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
Deltec Distributors Christmas Specials is here. Choose from our festive meat packages at unbeatable prices, perfect for your holiday feast. Hurry! Limited packages. Order now. Package 1, $4.99. 11 pounds of leg of Thai chicken, 5 pounds pork, 5 pounds turkey, 1 picnic ham, 1 liter.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
The Caribbean is more than just a place. It's a spirit, resilient, vibrant, and full of possibility. It's who we are at the heart of everything we do. For over 150 years, we've been right here, invested in the Caribbean, its people, and its progress. And today, we're going even further. We're deepening our commitment to the region, continuing to invest in the networks, services, and digital solutions that move Caribbean businesses forward. Whether you are a mid-sized business or multinational player, we bring you resilient connectivity, personalized service, and tailored IT solutions. All powered by local teams that truly have your back. We're here to help you navigate challenges, grow, and achieve your goals with practical solutions, reliable networks, and a partnership rooted in trust and your long-term success. Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Springs. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
The Caribbean is more than just a place. It's a spirit, resilient, vibrant, and full of possibility. Rooted in connection, driven by community. It's who we are at the heart of everything we do. For over 150 years, we've been right here, invested in the Caribbean, its people, and its progress. And today, we're going even further. Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago. So what we're seeing here on screen right now is the Orange Hill traffic light, and as you can see, there's a very smooth flow of traffic. So if you are on the Claude Noel Highway and you're heading whether east or west, there's a smooth flow right up until you get to Bishop's High School at the walk over there, where you see a bit of a pile up but still a slow moving traffic. So this morning we jump straight ahead into our conversations, and we are continuing our talks with Tutor. As you may or may not know, today is that Tutor, or Trinidad and Tobago United Teachers Association's elections, and we know that there are two persons that are vying for the position of Tutor Tobago representative. This morning I have the privilege of sitting in studio and chatting with Mr. President himself, Mr. Crystal Ash, and our Tobago outgoing president, Mr. Braden, Tobago outgoing tutor officer, Mr. Braden Roberts. Good morning and welcome.
Morning, ma'am. Morning.
And good morning to the team here.
Excellent. And Braden, we had a bit of a short conversation last week about the elections that are taking place today and why it's important for teachers to come out and be a part of it and participate and select one of the individuals. Tell us a bit about the process that's happening today, where a person's going to be voting, the time, and all of that.
All right, so first of all, I would want to commend the two candidates in that they ran clean campaigns. We did not have persons with complaints about persons speaking ill of another person. You're not seeing anger on the ground where persons are upset with any of the candidates, so I would want to commend them for such. We have election officers who will be going to schools, so schools won't be disrupted today. So the staff reps will be indicated as to when the boxes come into their school. So teachers would easily come down, have their votes, go back to their class, so we have minimal disruption. And those teachers who are not able to make it to school today, but may be able to make it to the office, or teachers who would have missed the ballot box when it comes to their school, can visit the office, which would be open up until 5 o'clock for persons to be able to vote there. So we have opportunities for all persons in Tobago, and it's only Tobago teachers would be voting for their Tobago officer.
Right, and that's the only position that's up for election today.
Yes.
Mr. Ash, tell us why it's important for Tobago to have that smooth and seamless transition into a new Tobago tutor officer and having a proper electoral process in place.
Thank you very much for the question, Ms. Felix. First, let me take this opportunity to thank Mr. Braden Roberts for his dedicated service, human service over the last 6 years, to tutor to the educators of Tobago. And we know that this is not the last we will hear of Mr. Braden Roberts. We will hear great things in the future. And to the two candidates who are vying for the position, best of luck to you both. So it is important that the process continues along the way it would have started. Mr. Roberts indicated that there were no issues with respect leading up to the election itself, the election day, and today being the election day. And Tobago is just like Trinidad. In terms of tutor, we pride ourselves of doing things in a professional manner. So we are educators, we are professionals, and we want to ensure that we do what we have to do in terms of the electoral process. And it is important that the educators of Tobago get the opportunity to identify who they want as their Tobago officer, because this person will be articulated on their behalf with respect to matters relating directly, specifically to Tobago. That person would normally come to meetings in Trinidad. We will join with them. And it is one tutor, Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association, not Tobago Unified and Trinidad Unified. It's one Trinidad and Tobago, one tutor. Hence the reason for me being here, to lend solidarity to Mr. Roberts and the incoming persons as well, to show that national tutor, we are on board, we are with them every step of the way, we understand some of their plights, we understand what they're going through, because many of the things that they're going through, we are feeling the same thing. Right. We're all one country, and we are governed by the teaching community and the Ministry of Education and the Division of Education. And at the end of the day, we want the best teaching learning process to take place for children to get educated. But at the same time, our teachers, our educators must have the facilities, they must have the tools in order to do their job. I always make this analogy. You can't ask a taxi driver to go and work taxi without a taxi. You must have the tools required. The carpenters would have their different tools and so on. So teaching is no different.
Right. And there is the idea that things within the Teaching Service Commission take a long time to be processed, whether it's in Trinidad or Tobago. But imagine that being exasperated for Tobago teachers. There's been the conversation about having a Teaching Service Commission stationed here in Tobago to deal specifically with Tobago's issue. Where is that on the list of priority of items when being discussed with the Minister for Education and all other stakeholders as it pertains to Tobago's development in education?
You want to take that one?
Yeah. So if I may quickly respond, we would have had a desk in Tobago already, However, it would have just been a means of communication. It's what the commission would have responded in the past is that this is one teaching service commission, and no one district has priority over the other. So they would still need a centralized system in processing particular matters. Of course, there are things that would not cause any grouping to be disenfranchised. If we look at transfers, if we look at approving temp appointments and so on, but interviews, we understand those will be centralized. But there are some things that the commission should be able to dedicate to Tobago. What we usually have is seasons where Tobago gets attention. So in the past, the commission would come to Tobago in January, and you will see some fruits coming around, and then it dies down by February, March. But they haven't come this year. And we have been struggling with a number of things with the commission for the past year, some before the last year. So I'm not certain how this year would be, seeing that they have not even come to Tobago this time around.
Understood. But in the press conference on Friday that the Chief Secretary had, he indicated, vehemently that any organization or anybody, whether nationally or locally here in Tobago, that is impeding the development process, he is willing to go ahead and set up mechanisms in place to do what needs to be done regardless. So is this something that you're encouraging the upcoming or the incoming tutor Tobago officer to have those meetings and those conversations with the Chief Secretary to ensure that the advocacy is there to have a greater presence for the Teaching Service Commission in Tobago?
Right, so I know the president is here. We had our meeting yesterday where he made that indication that we would be writing to the Chief Secretary for a meeting. I hope this time around he responds. I would have written to him several times during my tenure as Tobago officer and never got that opportunity to even get a response. I would also hope that the action backs the words, that we do have systems put in place, that we do get the listening ear where we work collaboratively. As you know, we are apolitical, so we work with those who are working for the benefit of the education system.
Understood. And we shift gears a bit into salary negotiations for teachers. We know that last year salary was agreed upon, but that was not implemented as yet. Where are those conversations now, and how close are teachers to actually getting that new salary?
Ms. Felix, you would notice that I'm wearing red. So it's Mr. Roberts, something very close to red. This is to show the blood of the employees. This is to show the blood of the teachers, the hard work, the sweat, what we have to endure. And after enduring all of that, when it's time to get our just due, it is not given. So we had an agreement in April where tutors signed on the dotted line for the new salaries. We had a promise that by June, July, you will get it. Nothing came. We had a meeting in December. Mr. Roberts was present. He heard it with his own ears. We would get it at the end of January. The end of January is here. Pay salaries tomorrow. Thursday. We will not be getting it. Teachers will not be getting it. Members of the education fraternity will not be receiving it. Why I say that sometimes is because it's not just teachers. You're talking about social workers, curriculum officers, guidance officers, DRE personnel, and so on. So all of these people make up the education. So we will not be getting it. So my last conversation with the chief personnel officer is that additional information needs to be submitted to the Minister of Finance. We were under the impression that everything is green light, go. Additional information. What does this additional information entail? I am not privy to that information. I cannot tell you. I don't know. Right? So information was sought. Information will be given. The Chief Personnel Officer said that he was going to ensure that this is done at the end of January. So if he's saying the end of January, we're 100% sure we're not going to get it in January. When then will we get it? Asking the question, when then? The Chief Personnel Officer, he could not give a definitive answer. So what am I to tell my membership? What am I to tell the educators of Trinidad, the educators of Tobago? Listen, as your president, I took the word of a very senior member of the Ministry of Education. I took the word of the Minister of Finance, who I thought to be an honorable individual. But to be honest, they seem to be treating tutor and its educators with a level of disrespect. There's no other way to say it. Because if it is that you promise me something, you tell me I'm going to get it, I'm waiting patiently. Tutor is not adversarial sort of organization.
Right.
We are very professional. We've been waiting patiently and nothing. So we don't know if it's going to come in February. We don't know if it's going to come in March. Who knows? At the end of February, they may say they need more information again.
Right, but even when we look at the economic situation in Trinidad and Tobago and the projected revenue versus actual revenue, you see that there is a breakdown in what the country actually has as opposed to, what it projected. Do you think that plays a role in the government not being able to fulfill its promise to tutor? And if so, what type of conversations are being had or can be had to have those contingencies in place, or maybe have this done in phases? Like, what are the alternative solutions to give teachers that level of comfort that is needed?
And I appreciate the fact that he brought in the financial aspect, because everybody in Trinidad and Tobago would know that, listen, a particular group was given their money at a particular time, which was not identified in the national budget. Other persons such as ourselves, we were. So if it is that you said that you're going to give teachers, members of the teaching service, their money, you would have allocated it in the budget. One would expect reasonably that they would receive it. So you can't tell me on one hand that you don't have the money because, the economy is in a fragile financial state. We understand that. We all read the papers. But at the end of the day, if you would have promised us that and you don't give it to us, and then we see you giving somebody else, which, by the way, we are not perturbed, we're not angry, we're pleased, we're glad for any union that would be able to bring some sort of benefit to their membership. We are glad for that. But at the same time, it must not be to the expense of our membership. We would expect what is due to us. So yes, the financial situation with respect to the economy might be a challenge at this point in time. But when you assume government, that is your responsibility. You have to find a solution. That is not for tutor to find a solution. You have to find a solution. We can work together to find some middle ground, which we have. We have told them, we know you cannot pay the back pay at this point in time because we're not expecting that. All we're expecting is the salaries. And once the salaries are paid, then there will be no more accumulation of back pay. So therefore, you're going to end up paying less back pay. It is only logical. So I would think that the Ministry of Education, the Minister of Finance, would more or less say, listen, let us try and end this thing in the shortest possible time so that we'll have less back pay to pay these individuals. I would think that is logical, but it has not been happening. And we've been asking for the intervention of the Minister of Education to get involved, because these are your people. These are the people who are running the schools. These are the people working, delivering the curriculum to the nation's children. Ask a question, but he seems to take a sideline.
And what are the next moves for tutor if by, let's say, mid-April there's still no communication as it pertains to, when teachers can actually see that?
You call a real Friday there, mid-April.
I mean, that's in the middle of like the Q2.
I want to be sure. Honestly, Mr. Robertson, I'm hoping and praying that doesn't happen, because a human being can only take so much. My membership can only take so much. Everybody has a breaking point. And if we have been here quietly saying, listen, let's give them a chance, let's give them an opportunity to get their house in order, and then we realize, listen, you're putting your foot on my neck and what you're trying to do bring harm to me? No, that's not right. So we're not looking that far down the road. That is not a possibility. I'm not even going to entertain that thought at this point in time.
Right.
Because they have to fix it before that.
Right.
One way or the other, tutor will do what it needs to do. We are writing. If we have to stage our silent protest, we have a rally coming up where we'll seek all the necessary permission. This is not a protest. Let me be very clear. Nothing like that. But I can say if my membership feel they can't pay me the financial obligations and they're mentally fatigued. Right now in Trinidad, the employee assistance program has been suspended.
Yeah.
Not in Tobago, but in Trinidad. So you have people under all this undue stress. They're not going to get a little bit of money. They're paying more NIS. They're paying more mortgage. And then you're telling me I can't even go to somebody to get some professional counseling to have me feel more comfortable such that I could go and continue doing my duties as an educator.
Right. But on the extreme end, we've seen it before where, teachers have staged protests by staying away from school. And that's, as I said, the extreme end of things. Is it possible that things can get to that point if it is a situation where teachers are not being compensated as promised?
Ms. Felix, as time changes, everything changes. There were times before when corporal punishment was not an issue. Now it is the law. There are things that tutor can do and there are things that tutor cannot do. There are things that tutor will advocate and there are things we will not advocate. We are a responsible association. As its president, I cannot articulate and tell my membership, listen, we're going to go out there and we're going to strike. We're going to shut down all the schools. No, we care about the children. We care, we love them. But at the end of the day, we also have children and we have financial commitments to make. So, no, you're not going to hear tutors saying, do something like that. As I said, we talk about the law as well too, because there was, in 2023, there was an injunction filed against tutor, debarring us from industrial action, some course of action that we were planning. And then the penal clause still exists as attached to it's a piece of legislation that debars persons of essential services, which teaching services are identified as one, from taking part in industrial action. So we can't do it. We know that. We're not going to do that. We're not thinking along the line. We are trying to show the powers that be, listen, we are doing the right thing. That's how we grew up, trying to do the right thing. We were told to do the right thing, and then the benefits will be derived. But how long can we take it? My membership, they would have a breaking point. I hope and pray that breaking point, they don't reach that breaking point, that a solution is found before, and they are at least given their salaries. We will work on the back pay at a later time. I know that finances are a bit tight. Everybody understands that, but at least give them the salaries.
Understood. And Mr. Roberts, is there anything that you want to say to teachers today, election day, for the tutor Tobago officer?
Right, so first of all, I just want to thank the district, the Tobago district, for giving me that opportunity to serve. The energy that they provided me to be able to be that representative, I thank them for that. I look forward to the district supporting the new Tobago officer, because sometimes things don't transition how you expect it to transition. The new Tobago officer would not be me. So we should not get into comparing as early into their tenure and so on, and we give them a chance to grow, because I did take time to grow. And I trust that that person would need time to grow as well, with the support, even from myself, supporting that person. Outside of the election, the Tobago officer, while we have to mind our business with what we are facing now, I want to ensure that all our members are giving their best to our students, because any student that fails enters into society as a negative influence. So we need to ensure that we continue giving our best while tutor work on that aspect of it. The wearing of the red at this time is to show solidarity, to show that we are all unified in our business, because we often neglect our business to say about the nation. But we are people too, as the president said. So we have to mind our business and ensure that we stay on top of things. We stay tuned. We follow the news. We follow the information coming out of the association. And we stay together as that unit.
Understood. Well, we want to thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here this morning. And again, we're wishing a smooth and successful election today. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for being a part of this morning's discussions. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Chanel Felix, and have a wonderful day.